Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Vault by Vallejo, where we discuss everything health, excellence, and growth related. My name is Maya, and today we're interviewing Chris from Chúuk, which many of us already know if we live in the Durham region. I'm going to pass this off to Chris to introduce himself and tell us a bit more about his business. Hi, Chris. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is my first official podcast.
First pod?
I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Nerve-wracking?
A little bit, yeah.
It's okay.
That's all good.
It never really fades.
Yeah,
so.
as long as everyone's having margaritas on the other side of the camera, they should.
They're probably having
entertaining.
margaritas at Chúuk right now as they're watching this, actually. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's 2 o'clock where we are. But
Yeah. No, that's good.
Chris, thank you for coming. I wanted to ask you a few questions about Chúuk, its beginnings, because I'm sure, this was news to me when I found out that you are the great descendant of Massey's. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm third generation to have a restaurant basically at our location. My grandfather started in 1965 with a burger joint. It was actually the Big M across the street. It was originally in the Pineapple Room.
It was the Big M?
Yeah. So my grandfather had a partner there, and then his partner's son ended up opening the Big M like 20, 25 years ago, like in the spot that it is now. But yeah, so my grandfather had a burger joint for like 15, 20 years there. And then my dad had Massey's for like 30 years. And then my brother and I opened up Chúuk in 2018. So.
I don't think you realize how big it is to have had Massey's under the belt, because for many of us, we drove up and down Liverpool, right past Massey's. Like, I know some of us had our first dates there. It was a humbling, cute diner style place. If you knew Massey's, you knew Pickering.
Yeah, it's so cool to have people that have like come for so many generations too. Like my dad, and I'm kind of seeing it now too, like where we have people that like come for their first date. And then like you'll see them like a few years later get married, and then they have a kid coming in, and like we bring the high chairs out for them. And like my dad got to see that with Massey's when he grew up with his kind of generation serving them. So it's pretty cool to like, we've only been around for 7 years, so we're not quite at like the kid stage yet, but we're getting there where some customers are starting to have them. So it's cool to kind of like grow with your community. And
you know what's so crazy about Chúuk is that I feel like it doesn't even feel like 7 years that you guys have been open, because I feel like it was just yesterday when everyone was buzzing about this new luxury downtown-esque kind of restaurant. And I think that was something huge that I wanted to talk to you about, because I know, and I know it from this business inherently, opening up a luxury business in the burbs. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. It's funny that you said it was buzzing right off the top, because it wasn't buzzing inside the restaurant right off the top.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So first couple of years, first year was like brutal. It was pretty tough. Like we were Friday, Saturday nights, we'd serve like 30 people.
Oh my gosh.
Now we serve like 300. So,
did you ever feel like there was a point where maybe you opened Chúuk and you were like, I made the wrong decision. We could have just kept this at Massey's. Yeah. We could have just kept going.
Yeah, it was a tough spot, because like Massey's was definitely super popular in its day, but like the last 5-10 years, there was definitely a bit of a decline. Like we had a lot of chains opening up around. Like every time like a Jack Astor's or a Pickle Barrel or someone like that opened up, it took like 10% of the business away. So it was like definitely needed a change, and that was a good thing, because it sparked us to be way more creative. We're like, okay, so how are we going to be different from every other restaurant in Durham?
So what inspired Chúuk? Because obviously it has Mexican origins. It's the vibe is just so unique. The bar is buzzing. The restaurant itself is so beautifully designed. Like I walk into it and I feel like I'm in, I know it's Mexican theme, but it's like Little Mykonos, and it's just gorgeous.
Yeah. I think the like original thought was just that we needed to be different and separate ourselves from like the pack. My brother was super into cooking Mexican food when we opened, so like his passion was there, so it just kind of made sense. And Mexican food's also having like a little bit of a renaissance right now too. Like in Canada for the longest time, it was just seen as like kind of like a cheap food that like people didn't really respect the cuisine so much, but like there's such amazing things that they do in Mexico with their cuisine, and like we wanted to kind of showcase that and share it with people. And it just helped that it was like so different from it. Like you don't want to open up the same restaurant as everyone else is doing, because you're just all sharing a piece of the pie. When you like make yourself unique and kind of carve out that niche, you're able to like get customers that like keep coming back to you, because you're really the only option for that segment.
Do you ever feel like when you I mean, obviously, I'm not sure how much oversight your dad may have had in the business, but as an example, do you feel when you were transitioning from this all-American Massey's to Mexican, there was this pushback to be like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So funny that you say that. So my grandfather was like totally against it. He's like, what the F are you guys doing? Like you're turning, because like he had something to do with Massey's too. Like he was cooking for a long time.
Yeah,
so,
like from 1965
yeah, and he
to
was just
present,
like,
you were
like
corrupting
you guys are opening up a Mexican restaurant. Like he was literally like fuming. Like it wasn't a good situation for our family. But my dad was super supportive of us. Like my parents basically put their retirement on the line for like us to build our own restaurant, which
they roll
was
the dice.
Pretty sick. Thank God it ended up working out, because it would have been brutal if it didn't. Like honestly, like there was a lot of pressure those first couple of years to make it work. And then it was just like, it was weird during COVID. It was like, it just kind of came alive. Like every time they opened us up after a lockdown, it was just like insanity.
Buzz.
Like the amount of people coming
Crazy
through.
buzz.
So yeah, I don't know.
When you were opening it, did you ever feel like maybe Pickering or the suburbs is not the right demographic for a luxury service?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I thought about that a lot. Like it was
a fear.
It was like sitting there on a Friday night at 9 p.m. My brother and I remember us sitting in the back booth and just looking at the restaurant empty, and we're just like, what the F did we do?
Oh my gosh.
And my dad, like kudos to him for having the experience, and like he just said like if people are enjoying themselves when they come in, like eventually it's going to catch on. Like, you know what I mean? Like as long as people are happy and they're coming in and enjoying themselves, business is going to grow. It's just like a matter of time. And like, we're fortunate that they were like kind of willing to hold on and keep it going.
So did you or anyone around you also have this stigma of like, there's no spenders in the burbs and they don't want to eat good? And because I know that I've heard that before. And even, I'm not going to lie to you, this is my moment to be honest with you. I remember when Chúuk first opened up, I remember being like, this is ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Like this is ahead of its time for the people of Durham, because people in Durham are not necessarily, well, I thought at the time, we're not necessarily looking for that luxury experience. I'm like, they'll just, how is this going to be sustainable? Blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, you guys are quite literally the #1 restaurant in Durham region, the busiest.
Thank you.
#1 on every single booking platform that you can imagine. Yeah. So kudos to you guys, but I want to know a bit more about that.
Yeah. Sorry, you lost me for a second.
It's okay.
You lost me with the compliments. I'm like,
you're like, thank you. You're like, thank you so much.
We are the best, aren't we? No, I'm just kidding. We were studying a lot of like the best restaurants in New York City and like cocktail bars and stuff in New York, and also like Chicago and in Mexico. And like, we're definitely, even Canada in general, like we definitely are like a few years behind the trends in New York City. You know what I mean? Like we're not like,
I feel like that's with every industry. Yeah. Like we're always like a touch behind.
Yeah, which is fine. Like we get there eventually. But like the timing thing that you said, I think that's kind of why it was so slow at the first couple of years, because like we were a little bit ahead, and like timing is such an important factor with things that we kind of like missed it a little bit. But then also we adjusted the concept slightly too. Like we I don't want to say that we dumbed it down at all, because we didn't, but we made things like a little bit more approachable.
Suburb accessible?
Yeah, just like a little bit more approachable, adding
less
some ingredient. Exactly. Because that's the thing too, right? Like to be honest, when we first opened, like I wasn't even fully comfortable like serving everything that we were serving and stuff. Like I grew up in like this family restaurant that was like super down to earth, and like you just want to make everyone feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And like I think we actually, which is funny that we got there with Chúuk anyways, like I think our service and stuff is like very friendly and approachable, which sometimes you walk into like I've been to these like 3 Michelin star restaurants in New York, and like you feel like intimidating when you're eating. You're like, well, I don't want to drop my fork or do anything like to embarrass myself in this. And like, I don't know, that's just not a comfortable way to eat. You know what I mean? Like you definitely, as far as like we're definitely a little bit more upscale. We use really good ingredients. We provide really good service, but like you never want it to be like stuffy where people don't feel comfortable either.
I think that's where you've created like this recurring crowd, is because, and that's where you created like a recurring person out of me, for example. Like I feel comfortable when I go there. When you go downtown, it's a whole thing to go to a restaurant. You've made the reservation, you're getting in the car, you're driving 50 minutes, you're finding traffic, like the list goes on and on. But I find that it's less of this burden to just go to Chúuk, where it's like I'm getting that luxury experience. I can dress up, feel good. I'm driving 12 minutes down the road. Yeah. I feel like I'm in a whole different country, and then I get to go home in 12 minutes time.
Yeah, it's sweet. We actually get a lot of people that walk in and we're like, "Oh, this is Pickering," and then like I'm like, "Yeah, I saved you like quite the trip on the DVP tonight." So
Saved
like,
a lot of money on the trip and the parking and all the good stuff. So
so no, it's cool.
So in your journey with Chúuk, obviously now you're entering that, like, what is it, toddler phase, kid phase?
Yeah.
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 Do you see maybe another Chúuk opening up somewhere else in Durham, or even beyond Durham? Do you see yourself going a bit more west?
That's a good question. We definitely have people like ask us to open up in the city too. And like, first of all, like living in Durham, like I love living in Durham. I don't think I'd ever move from Durham. So like, I don't really want to live downtown. And also like, I'm not commuting down there either. And also it's like, it's a little bit intimidating to go down there with, I think we could hold our own. Like, I think we could, but like, it is definitely a league down there for sure.
Which I think you meet, by the way. Like, I love Chúuk and the brand and the aesthetic and the imagery. Everything about it is just so clean. I feel like you guys have really good legs to stand on down there if you were. So
and I appreciate that. But yeah, maybe something in the future. It's tough because like when you think about expanding, it would definitely be easier to make another Chúuk.
Yeah.
Because the brand's already recognized and stuff. But like the creative element and like, I don't know, it was so much fun creating the brand and creating the restaurant that like I almost want to create something else. You know what I mean? Like maybe a small cocktail bar or something like that. But I don't know. We'll see. I've also got a newborn at home, so if my wife's watching this and hearing me talk about opening up another restaurant,
she's like, "You don't have time. Come home right now. The baby's crying."
Super happy about that. I don't know. You also get like you don't want to get comfortable too. I think like my dad did an amazing job at Massey's, but like eventually when you have it good for a long time, you do kind of get comfortable, and like I think you got to keep on pushing yourselves to be put into uncomfortable situations so that you expand and grow and you don't become stagnant.
For sure. I think I'm the type of person who has always lived by that. And since skydiving isn't always an option, like I'm always looking for this crazy rush. Like what's the next rush, the next push? So for me, like my adrenaline is like opening up locations just because I love this idea of creating community and network. And I'm sure you've seen it with Chúuk, just like you said, like there's different generations and different vibes. I think it's a beautiful thing. So, I mean, I'm rooting for you guys. I love my tacos. Everyone who's watching, I'm sure if you are a Durham region local, you have been to Chúuk, you love Chúuk, or you know somebody that frequents it. So go to Chúuk, go support local. And I want to thank you, Chris, for coming on today.
Thank you. And you can come burn off the tacos at Pilates after.
Pilates, tacos, repeat.
Good match.
See you later.
Yeah,
Bye.
Thank you.